Right. So last class we finished off our discussion from plant nutrition. Today we are starting off with transport in plants, chapter number 8. Like we discussed yesterday, we are skipping chapter 7 for now. I will come back to it after this chapter, inshallah. Okay, since we are covering the plant chapters together. Okay. So talking about chapter number 8, transport in plants. Transport in plants. Alright. So in transport in plants, first we need to talk about xylem and phloem because those two are the main plant transport systems. Okay, so we'll be talking about xylem and phloem first. Plant transport system that includes your xylem and phloem. First, let's talk about xylem. Okay, if I talk about the main features of xylem, xylem is made up of many hollow dead cells. Okay, and they are joined end to end. So end walls of these cells have disappeared. Okay, so basically, a long, large, basically a tube is formed. Okay, xylem vessels. All right. So if I talk about xylem vessels more in detail, water comes from the xylem vessels. All right, minerals are transported through it. Okay, they run from the roots of the plant right up to the stem and branch out into every single leaf because your xylem vessels are important for transporting your water and mineral ions, like I discussed. Okay. Very important is that they contain no cytoplasm or nuclei. All right. Amar, where were you? You were not there for the past two classes. Because initially they are living cells. Oh, all right. Please watch the recordings. All right. Okay. Anyways, as I was saying that they are living cells initially, so obviously they will have these organelles, but as soon as lignin starts to deposit, that I will just talk about, they basically lignin is impermeable to water, and since they do not get any water, the cells die. Okay, and that's why we say they're made up of hollow dead cells. All right. Okay, so I was saying that the walls are made up of cellulose and lignin. Yes, I am saying that initially xylem cells are living, obviously. When they develop, okay, lignin starts to deposit. Lignin is impermeable to water, and since in any cell in which water will not enter, that cell will die. So slowly and gradually, xylem cells die. That's why we say they're made up of dead cells that then they become hollow slowly and gradually as they develop. That's why we say xylem is made up of dead hollow cells. It's not dead from the initial. Okay, how can you have dead cells? Okay, dead is something it's not there. So they are living initially and then they die. Okay, because of lignin. All right, clear, sir? All right. Okay, let's move on. Cellulose and lignin. So lignin is very strong. Okay, and it helps to keep the plants upright. So it's not like lignin is something bad that is killing your xylem cells. It's very important. What's wrong with this? Oh, sorry. Okay. Lignin is very strong. So xylem vessels help to keep the plants upright. All right. Okay. Right. So if I talk about basically your xylem has two functions: the support and transport. Okay. Support and transport. All right. So support is done. How? You have the walls that basically contain lignin and it's very strong, supports the weight of every, even a heavy tree you can see. Okay, and in leaves, xylem vessels in a vascular bundle help the leaf to be held flat. That provides a large surface area to absorb sunlight. Transport, as in cells are dead with no contents, there are no cross walls between the dead cells. Walls contain lignin and diameter is between approximately 15 micrometers to 20 micrometers. So since the cells are dead with no contents, with no organelles, nothing's there, water can flow very easily. There are no cross walls. That means it's a continuous tube. There is no ending like one cell and then another cell. It's not like this. There is no cross wall. Okay, it's a continuous cell. The end walls, they basically they are they they move. They basically, I can say, they disintegrate themselves as your xylem is developing. So that it basically provides a continuous tube for water to flow all the way from the roots to the leaves. Walls contain lignin, like I just said. Lignin is solid and makes sure the vessels stay open, do not collapse, and allow the water to flow very easily. Then the diameter is approximately 15 to 20 micrometers. That is narrow enough to make sure column of water inside does not break. Okay. And at the same time, it is wide enough to allow a lot of water to flow through. All right. Second transport system is your phloem. Okay, and phloem is simple. It's made up of living cells. That is what we were discussing yesterday. That why is carbohydrate? I mean, yesterday or day before yesterday. And why is glucose transported in the form of sucrose? That's the point. It is made up of your phloem is made up of living cells. That is the reason. Okay, and phloem transports sucrose and amino acids from source to sink. Okay, from where they are made to other parts of the plant. For example, roots, flowers. From where they are made to other parts of plant.
Ma'am, phloem is an organism.
Phloem, no, it's a transport system. Xylem and phloem in the plant. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
other parts of the plant. For example, roots or flower. What is the transport system, Claire? The phloem has this main function of transporting your sucrose and amino acid nutrient molecules, basically. Claire? Everyone clear?
Is
Yes?
there a
No?
special structure of phloem cells?
Not exactly. It's just made up of living cells. See, xylem has an important part because see, xylem develops into it has lignin, cellulose that develops into the proper you can see bark of the root. Okay, xylem basically has main part. Phloem has just the function of transporting the food molecules and all. All right. That clear?
Clear.
I don't understand, how does lignin kill the plant? See, lignin itself, see when the xylem cells are maturing, okay? There's a substance that is called lignin that starts to deposit in it, and that basically gives strength to xylem vessels. Is this clear? Up till this point, is this clear? Okay, great. So when, see, lignin is depositing in the walls. Let's say this is one cell. At this point, cross walls are still there, okay? Let's say lignin started to deposit, these walls started to become thick. Where will water come from? From one cell to another? Okay, from top to bottom, right to left. Agreed, Zoya? That is how water moves, right? From one cell to another, right? I am saying lignin is impermeable to water. Do you think it will let water enter? If it's impermeable to water. And do you think our organelle cells can survive without water? No, right? So if they cannot survive without water, then they will die. This will die first, this will die second, third, fourth, fifth. It's slowly and gradually, the entire xylem vessel will die. Okay, it will be dead. It will be made up of dead cells, and since that the organelles will die, cross walls will also be start to be vanishing. You will just have a long, narrow tube, hollow tube made up of dead cells. Is this clear? That is how lignin kills your cell. Lignin does not do anything, it does not release any toxin, but this is how it kills it. Okay, and it's actually a natural phenomenon. It's nothing, diseased, nothing abnormal happening. This is natural phenomena. This is what happens as your tree grows. As your plant grows into a tree, this is what happens. That is how the bark is very strong. Have you ever seen the bark? Right? Those large trees and their barks. Can you see how strong they are? It takes proper machinery to, cut down those trees. Is this clear now, Zoya? Sure. Any other question? Anyone else? Any question? Ibrahim, Ahmed, Ayla, Abdul Basit.
Please show the points of Xylem.
Sure, sure. Yes, please note this down and then we'll talk about vascular bundles. Okay, done?
Just one more minute.
Okay, sure, sure.
I'm done.
Okay, great. I think rest of you are also done, right? Okay, then let's move on. Now let's talk about your vascular bundles. Okay, vascular bundles are basically a group of xylem vessels and phloem tubes. I think it was Zoya or someone else who asked me in the initial chapters about placement of vascular bundles. Zoya, was it you? And I said that, I'll show it to you and talk about it, how they are arranged. I don't know, someone, I don't remember exactly. Was it you? I don't know, it was someone. Anyways, so this is how your vascular bundles are arranged. Look at this. This is your root. You have xylem. Inside all of this part, this is xylem that I've traced with red. And the outside parts, these small, the yellow parts, orange parts, these are your phloems. In your stem, they are arranged in a circular arrangement. Look at them. Outside ones are phloem, inside ones are xylem. So it's opposite. See, xylem is inside. No, it's not opposite. Sorry, it's also same. Look at this. The arrangement is different, obviously. Now look at this in the leaf. Your blue part represents xylem. Your bottom, the yellowish parts, they represent your phloem. Collectively, they are called vascular bundle. This is how your placement is of xylem and phloem. A vascular bundle is basically in your root, stem, and leaves, respectively. Okay. Now let's talk about your transport of water. So you know that plants, they take up water from the soil through their root hairs. Roots basically have further extensions that are called root hairs, and the increased surface area for absorption help the root for absorption. More and more they go deep into the soil and bring water from far areas. So at the tip of the root is basically a protective cap that protects the root as it grows through the soil. Okay, because root can also get damaged. Okay. Rest of the root is covered by a layer of cells that is called your epidermis, and root hairs are formed from some of the cells in the epidermis. Okay, tip is covered, and rest of it is covered in an epidermis, and root hairs are basically extensions of those. Function of root hairs is to absorb water and mineral lines from the soil, like I told you. So water diffuses from the soil into the root hair down the concentration gradient through a partially permeable membrane. So what will I say? Water diffuses. I mean, actually, it's osmosis because it's moving across a partially permeable membrane. But since osmosis is also a kind of diffusion, just the fact that you have an involvement of partially permeable membrane. Water diffuses from the soil into the root hair, down the concentration gradient, across a partially permeable membrane. That is your, the cell surface membrane of your permeable cell surface membrane or membrane. Also called water potential gradient. Okay, called concentration gradient. Better is to say what. Let's just change it and say water potential because we talked about water potential. Or you can also call it concentration. See, the way the reason I wrote concentration was because it is because of, see, your roots have minerals as well. Soil also has minerals. Right? Roots have more minerals as compared to your soil. Okay, because roots has taken up those minerals. That's why water moves from where there are less solute particles to where there are more solute particles. Solute are your minerals. That's why I called it the concentration gradient. We're not talking with respect to your water at this point. So I mean, both gradients work. You can just set down the gradient. Okay, it's not necessary that you write concentration or water potential. But I've told you both ways why I use those words. Okay, if you are referring with context to water, you will say water potential gradient, obviously. Now I told you we're talking with respect to solute. Right? See, roots have absorbed the minerals. There are more solute particles inside the root as compared to your soil. So water will move from the soil to your root. Okay. So these long, thin root hair have large surface area which increases the uptake of water mineral ions. Or you can say which increases surface area for absorption of water and mineral ions. Surface area for absorption of water and mineral ions. Now if we talk about pathway of water through plant, how does water actually move? This is when we got it into the root. Now what will happen to it? So, root hairs are on the edge of the root and xylem vessels are present in the center. So water will travel by osmosis through the cortex from cell to cell. So water travels by osmosis from the root, edge of the root, or you can say to the xylem vessel. Xylem vessel from cell to cell. Now, is it necessary? Do you think you can stop water from seeping between the cracks? Does water have a definite shape? Does it have a definite shape? Yes. Good. Right. So let's say if I create a boundary. Okay, and I leave some water here. Okay, I see some water particles here. Okay, I make small pores between it. 1 second. I make small pores in it. I make it as a porous membrane. And I say that water should only leave through these pores and not from the surroundings. Do you think it is possible? Can you stop it? Until or unless it's only in this container. No, right? Water will leave anywhere it will want to. Because it does not have a definite shape, right? It's not solid. Similarly, when we say it's moving cell to cell, it's not like water particles are moving line by line. Okay, first you will go, then I will go, then I will go. They can go anywhere. They don't have a definite shape. They do definitely have a definite volume, but they do not have a definite shape. So you cannot stop water molecules from moving. All right. So your water can seep through the spaces between the cells or through the cell walls as well. All right. So some of it seeps through the spaces between the cell or through cell walls. Once it reaches xylem vessels in the middle of the root, in the middle of the root, it is then transported all the way up through the stem and into the leaves. All the way up through the stem and into the leaves. Is this clear?
Why does water move up?
Why does water move up?
Yes, shouldn't it fall to the ground due to gravity?
So there are certain forces that help water move up. There are cohesion and adhesion forces. Okay.
That's clear.
See, if I tell you if this is your xylem, there are two forces, cohesion and adhesion. Cohesive forces are between water molecules. Okay, so they stick together and form a water column. Then you have adhesion forces that is between the water molecule and the wall of the xylem. These forces basically help the water to move against gravity up the xylem to your stem and your leaves. Is this clear, sir? And this is
Yes,
basically
clear.
due to the result of transpirational pull as well. We will just discuss this after I discuss transpiration. All right. Anyone else? Any questions? Ayla, Zoya, Ibrahim, Umar, the Basit,
No questions.
rest of you. Umar, Claire, the Basit, Ibrahim,
Miss,
Ahmed.
can you tell the summary, like what is the function of xylem and phloem, like in summary?
See, xylem important. See, okay, great. Xylem important function is this transport and your support. Support as in that it has cellulose and lignin. Okay, lignin makes it impermeable and basically no water enters, so it gains all the strength. It supports the plant, supports heavy trees. Okay, transport as in it transports your water and mineral lines. Okay, and it's made up of dead cells. It's a hollow tube. There are no cross walls, so water straight away moves through one tube and does not break. Phloem, on the other hand, it has simple function. It is made up of living cells. Okay, it transports sucrose and amino acids from where it is made, basically leaf, to other parts of your plant. Okay, I won't say leaf exactly because sometimes your uh, food is also stored in the form of starch in the roots, and at times basically in winters when there is less sun, less photosynthesis, so your stored food is utilized. In those conditions, it will travel from the roots to your other parts of the plant. Okay, so I will not say exactly leaf to other parts. I will just say from where it is made or stored uh, to where it is needed. Okay, to other parts of the plant. Obviously, entire plant needs energy. Clear, Abdul? And it's made up of living cells. So we don't transport glucose in the form of glucose. We convert it into sucrose and transport it. Clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay, rest of you. Okay. Any question? Okay, Umar said yes. Okay. Ahmad, Ibrahim, all clear, all good. Okay. So please note this down. Then we will talk about transpiration and transpirational pull. Done? Are you guys done? Okay, rest of you? Zoya is done. Okay, rest of you?
I'm done.
Okay, great. Then I think rest of you are also done. Okay, great. Let's move on then. Now let's talk about transpiration. Transpiration simple definition is loss of water vapor from your leaf. Or basically, you can also go in detail from your spongy mesophyll. Okay, but let's just say leaf. Most of the take place from the leaves. In the leaves. So water from the xylem vessels in the leaf then travels to the mesophyll cells by osmosis to replace it. Right, so water is constantly being taken from the top of the xylem vessel to supply the cells in the leaf, because when cells are losing water, obviously water is needed to replace them as well. So water from xylem is coming. So this is a transpiration pull that I was talking about when Saad asked me that why isn't it moving downwards. There's a pull from the top of the leaf as well. Okay, this basically reduces the pressure at the top of the xylem vessels, so water flows up the stem, does not go down to the gravity. Okay, so if I say water is constantly being taken from the top, constantly being taken, or you can say taken from the top of xylem to supply the cells in the leaf. So they are losing the water, so they need water as well. So this will reduce the pressure at the top of the xylem vessel, so water will flow in the up the stem. Reduces the pressure at the top of the xylem. And water moves up the stem. This is called your transpiration stream. But talk about transpirational pull. Now here we will discuss a spongy mesophyll, like I was just saying. Okay. So your spongy mesophyll cell in the spongy mesophyll tissue, basically in the plant leaf, it plays a very important role in holding to keep in helping to keep the water move through the plants. Okay. Basically, your combined surface area of all spongy mesophyll cells is very large. Okay, like we saw yesterday, and this surface is in contact with the air spaces in the leaf as well, right? Because there are spaces between them. So water moves into the mesophyll cells from xylem by osmosis, and then most of this, if I say not most, I will say not all of the water is evaporated from the cell walls and end up is water vapors as well. Not all, but a lot of it. I will say most of it. Not all, but a lot of it. Like like maybe 90% of it. If I give it to you numbers, so a lot of this water vapor will evaporate from the cell walls and end up as water vapor. So water vapor is diffusing out through the stomata into the surrounding air. So this will create this constant movement of water from xylem through the mesophyll cells into the air, and through the stomata into the air will mean that water is removed from upper end of the xylem vessel. All right. So then there will be pressure at the top of the xylem vessel that will be reduced as compared to the pressure at the bottom of the roots, because roots have to then pull up water. Okay, take up water and pull them up, right? Because your leaf is losing the water. So there is this potential, there is not potential, there is this pressure difference, or this gradient created that causes water to flow upwards from higher pressure at the bottom to the lower pressure at the top. Okay, I mean bottom as in, when you say from high to low, top to bottom, high to low. So but it's moving from roots to your leaf, so it's moving from bottom to top, as in when I'm talking about organ. Okay, from root to leaf is bottom to top. Okay, so this pressure difference is called your transpirational pull, since it's caused by loss of water vapor. So simple. Your spongy mesophyll cells, they basically have constant connection with your air, and there's a lot of surface area, a lot of air spaces. So what will happen? Water is continuously moving out, since and this is during the day, because obviously you can take in water, and photosynthesis is taking place, right? So it is losing water. Simple. Water is moving into the mesophyll cells from xylem by osmosis, and a lot of this water is being evaporated. Okay, then ends up as water vapor. Done. So this constant movement of water from xylem through the mesophyll cells, through the mesophyll cells What's wrong with this? 1 second. Into the air spaces and through the stomata into the air. Okay, this means that water is removed from the upper end of the xylem vessel, like I said earlier. So pressure at the top of the xylem vessel is comparatively lower than pressure at the bottom in the roots. All right. This pressure difference causes water to flow from the roots up the stem, upwards basically. Right, Saad, now is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. From the roots up the stem. Okay, so this pressure difference is basically called transpiration pull. Okay, because it is caused by loss of water vapor by transpiration. And it is caused by loss of water vapor by transpiration. All right. Okay. Now I'll show you how you measure transpiration rates. Okay, it's basically the rate at which a plant takes up water and depends on the rate of transpiration, like I just said. Okay, let me show you a diagram. Wait 1 second. Okay, you can use a potometer. Okay, this is a chute. It transpires from here, and you have uh sorry, sorry. Yes, you basically have a air bubble here. Okay, so whatever the distance that will be moved by this air bubble, it could be recorded in every minute or every whatever time period you are taking. Okay, and you can see it will be indicating the rate of water uptake by plant, right? And because it's losing air by transpiration, so it will over here it's taking it up, right? So you can figure out the rate of transpiration. All right, clear? Any questions, anyone? All clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Now let's talk about the conditions that affect transpiration rate. Now transpiration is affected by the environment. So I will say transpiration is affected by temperature, air speed, and humidity. And humidity. Let's talk about each factor. So when temperature will be high, obviously rate of transpiration will also be high, because obviously same phenomena, temperature increases, kinetic energy of water molecules also increases. So water will evaporate at a faster rate from the surface of visible cells and will diffuse out of the leaf into the air. As temperature increases, rate of transpiration also increases. Also increases. second. Okay, also increases as water molecules gain kinetic energy. And evaporate faster from the surface of mesophyll cells. Second factor is your airspeed. So, if it's a windy day, air around the leaf, which contains a lot of water vapor that has just diffused out of the leaf, is quickly moved away. Okay, wind is taking away all the moisture. So, because of the movement of air, this diffusion gradient for the water vapor, okay, I mean water vapor outside is less as compared to water vapor inside. Windy conditions, water vapor diffuses faster as compared to when air is still. In windy conditions, water vapor diffuses faster as compared to when air is still. As air around the leaf that contains a lot of water vapor that has just diffused out of the leaf. Is quickly moved away. And because there is a gradient developed. Last is your humidity. Humidity is basically your moisture content of the air. When you say it's so humid, right? So what is it? It's the moisture content. Where you feel sweaty, okay? Your sweat doesn't, move away. It's on your skin, okay? You feel, weird. And you'll be like, oh, I want to take a shower. It's so humid outside. I feel so sweaty. So higher the humidity, less water vapor will diffuse out of the leaf. And because obviously there's not much of a diffusion gradient. Alright. So as humidity increases, rate of transpiration decreases. It's as an inverse relation. Overhead but direct relation. So as humidity increases, rate of transpiration decreases. Okay. As less water vapor will diffuse out of the leaves. Right? Now this is a condition in which temperature is high. For example, if I'm saying if temperature is high, it's windy, and air is very dry. So transpiration full will happen very quickly. Okay, this is a combination of conditions, okay? They have asked about this in some paper, I think, so that's why I talked about this. Because see, all of this temperature high, transpiration high. It's windy, again will move all of the water quickly, transpiration high. Air is dry, it will move very quickly because it's not humid. It will not stay there. Where the water vapor will move very quickly. Water will be diffused very fast. So a plant will lose water from its leaf faster than it can take it up from its roots. Loss is greater than gain. Okay, cells will lose a lot of water that they will become flaccid. Plants will lose water faster than they can gain. Quicker than they can gain. And so plant cells will become flaccid. I hope you remember flaccid when we discussed it. Okay, so when the cells become flaccid, your leaves will wilt. Okay, they will become soft and floppy. Plant will start to wilt. Basically, the leaves will droop down. Okay. Then we have translocation of sucrose and amino acids that we talked about in the phloem. So it is the process by the phloem, in which has anyone asked anything? What is the difference between plasmid and plasmolytes? Plasmolytes is when their cell membrane detaches from the cell wall, that is basically close to death. You cannot fix plasmolysis, but you can fix flaccid nature of cells. If the water conditions become normal, the cells will become turgid again. Plasmolysis, your plant will then die because your cell membrane detaches. It's basically one step closer to death. All right. Let me see chat. What did he say? Okay, great. Substances made in the leaf. This also. Never mind. Especially sucrose and amino acids. Are transported to other parts of plant. Okay. Last thing for today of this chapter is source and sink. The place where your sucrose and amino acids are being translocated is from it's the source. Okay. I'm not saying leaf or anything. Okay. So part of plant. Sucrose and amino acids. Sucrose are being translocated is it can be the roots as well. In case when it's not plant is not photosynthesizing, is the source, and part of the plant to which they are being translocated is called the sink. To which sucrose amino acid are being translocated is the sink. Okay, so they change as seasons change. Initially in the summers, for example, when your photosynthesis is high, source is your leaf, so sink is your roots and other parts of the plant. But in seasons when plant is not actively photosynthesizing, surviving by stores of starch and other minerals in the roots, sink will now act as the source. So your food will go from the roots to your leaves and other parts of the plant. Is this clear? Any questions, anyone? Saad, Ayla, Zoya, Abdubasit, Umar, and who else is left? Ahmed, yes. Any questions, anyone? Rest of you?
No, miss.
Okay.
No
Alright,
questions.
Saad. Okay. Zoya, Ayla.
No questions.
Oh, that's great. Please note this down. So we are done with this chapter, alhamdulillah. Next week, inshallah, we will first do human nutrition, chapter 7. Yes, I can repeat source and sing. See, the place where from where your sucrose and amino acids are being translocated is the source. I'm not saying leaves, whatever. From where sucrose and amino acids are going is that is the source, and to the parts to which they are going, that is the sink. From where they are going is the sink. Astaghfirullah, the source. Sorry. Okay, sorry. From where they are going, it's the source. To the point they are going, that is the sink. Is this clear? So I'm not saying it's the leaf or it's the root, whatever. Normal conditions, when your plant is actively photosynthesizing, okay, your leaves are making food, they are the source. Right? Because sucrose and amino acid is being translocated from the leaf to other parts, roots, whatever stored in the roots, transported to other parts, needs are fulfilled. So the needs are fulfilled of the parts, for example, roots and other parts. We are calling those sink in the condition that plant is actively photosynthesizing. In winters, for example, when plant is not actively photosynthesizing, your plant is surviving of stored food, starch in the roots. So now your roots will become the sink source. Sorry, because that is where your sucrose and amino acids are being translocated from, and now your leaves will become the sink because leaves are now getting food from your roots. Okay, so we don't specify leaves as source and sink as roots because roles do change as seasons change because plant does not actively photosynthesize all air. Is this clear now, Zoya? Okay, great. Anyone else, any questions? All good, all clear? Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, great. So, all right, that's great. Then I hope everyone's clear. There are no further questions and you guys are done. So, that's all for today. Next class, inshallah, we are going to be starting off with human nutrition, chapter 7. And then we'll be moving on to transport and animals or transport and humans. Chapter 7 and 9 are our next chapters. And then obviously we're going to follow on. All right, then that's all for today. I will see you in the next class, inshallah, then.